Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called A Visitor to His Garden, written by alt sci-fi. Stan heard the six-legged scuttling that meant that it was a juvenile approaching, not an adult. The rapid click-click-click rhythm that made it nearly impossible for the children to hide from the adults. It was a wonder evolution didn't wipe them out a million years before they gained intelligence. "Go home, kid," Stan said, without looking up from his garden. The carrots were coming in nicely this year, but the cucumbers looked depressing. He'd tried growing watermelons for himself as a treat, but they didn't seem to like something in the soil on this world.
"How did you know I was a kid?"
Stan's visitor asked. A much-repaired translator perched on his shoulder, took the chirps and taps of the alien speech and turned it into his native English. "Because," Stan said, and still working the soil, "an adult would have known to call ahead. Thus, adults are smart enough to stay away from here." He turned over the dirt and checked for any infestations.
"My mom says I shouldn't leave the village, but I'm not scared,"
the kid said. Stan tamped down the last bit of soil and dusted his hands off. He stood up and faced his visitor. The kid could not have been more than 3 or 4 periods old. Stan always thought that age as roughly a human 8 to 10-year-old, but he knew the math never worked out nicely. "Your mom's a smart lady. You should listen to her." The kid kicked at the fallen nut on the ground at his feet.
"We learned about the war in school last semester. One of the kids in my class said that you were an invader and meant to destroy us."
Stan said, "Then why did you come up here?"
"Don't know," the kid said. "You've been here as long as I can remember, and as long as my dad can remember, and maybe as long as my granddad can remember. If you were going to destroy us, why haven't you done it by now?"
"Maybe I'm just taking my time, lulling you into a false sense of security. Then, when you least expect it, invasion!" The kid looked up at Stan. It was hard to tell with the multifaceted eyes, but Stan thought the kid was squinting at him.
The kid said, "How can you be an invasion if you're just one man?"
Stan looked thoughtful for a moment. "You know, you may have just found the one flaw in my plan," he said. Stan smiled down at the kid and turned to walk off towards his house. "Go home, kid. There's nothing up here for you." The kid ran ahead of Stan and caught him well before he made it into the house.
"Tell me about the war," the kid said.
"Do they not teach you the word please in these schools of yours?"
"Please teach me about the war," the kid said.
Stan knew the translator didn't have a setting for whine, but he could hear it in the kid's voice all the same. "Nothing to teach, kid. That was a long time ago, and it's over now. I'm just an old man a long way from home," Stan said. He had to step around the kid, but the kid was too quick for Stan with his limp.
"Why are you still here if the war was a long time ago? Why are you still on my planet?"
Stan sighed. "A lot of people have asked me that. Hell, I've asked myself that. Truth is, I got tired. Tired of always on the move, tired of the bad food, tired of the orders, tired of the fighting. When the war was over, I retired. This planet had been my last assignment, so I just stayed here. I always thought I'd move on when the mood struck me, but I never did. Happy now? I'm just a tired old man who's too set in his ways to move."
"Your people invaded us," the kid said. "How did the elders let you stay? Weren't people still mad at you?"
"Some of them, yeah. Your people were part of the coalition of worlds that invaded some of our colonies. There was plenty of war to go around in those days. We found a few other races that your coalition had done the same way, and we fought back. My people ended up invading a lot of the coalition colonies, including this one. Eventually everybody signed a peace treaty, and the war was over. Your elders didn't have a say in me staying on this world. They did everything they legally could to make me feel unwelcome, but I outlived them all. So now I'm part of the scenery. Everyone remembers me always being here, so no one thinks too much of it, as long as I keep to myself."
"I don't think you should be here. Why don't you want to go back to your own world?"
Stan wiped his forehead with the back of one hand. The sun had climbed up since the kid had arrived, and Stan was working on a face full of sweat. "Kid, if you want to talk, come inside. It's too warm out here, and I've got cold drinks in the house." Stan walked around the kid and into the house. He heard the clicking of the kid's feet follow him inside. After Stan poured himself a tall glass of ice-cold water, He set a glass down for the kid as well. I don't want to go back to my own world, Stan said, because it's too crowded there. Earth is bursting at the seams with people and I can't stand it. I thought about the colonies, but, well, I'm sure there'd be too many busybodies there for me. But here, I get a visitor maybe once every 6 or 7 periods. Well, that's about as much socialization as I want. I get my care package from Earth every now and then. I like my privacy. And I like not being plugged into all the lies and bustling and, the people back home.
My teacher says that your people are pack animals, that you need others to survive.
Most do, yeah. In fact, you'd think most of them would sooner go without air than without company. But there are a few like me that would rather be free and do as we please. Your people are a little like that. The kid stared up at him with large open eyes, as if trying to drink in everything that made Stan who he was. It felt a little disconcerting to Stan to be so openly examined after his self-imposed solitude. He took another drink of water to hide his unease.
You're a strange invader,
the kid finally said. Stan laughed. Yeah, I suppose I am at that. You should probably head home. Your parents are probably worried about you. The kid said his goodbyes and left. Stan thought about his visitor long after he'd gone. He wondered what the kid would tell his own children about the time he'd met the invader that lived up in the hills above the town. Early next morning, Stan heard the rapid series of knocks on his front door as he prepared breakfast. Stan went to the door with an iron skillet in hand. When he opened the door, the kid was standing there and then fell face first into the house. Stan helped him up and then laid him onto the rug near the fireplace. What happened? Stan asked. The kid's face was cracked and swollen in a dozen places. One leg hung limply at his side. The kid's eyes were wild and unfocused. Stan had to hold the kid's head to make him listen.
Dad,
the kid said. He stopped to catch his breath and focus on talking.
Dad was angry when I told him that I'd come up here. Said mean things. Told him to live up here with you if I liked it so much.
Your dad beat you because you came to try to talk to me yesterday. The kid nodded weakly, his head bobbing up and down. Wait here, Stan said. He went and got a warm washcloth and some bandages. He spent the morning tending to the kid and patching him up. The kid's bodily fluids turned the washcloth a sickly shade of green. When it looked like the kid was in good enough shape and his head was clear enough, Stan let him lie down in the bedroom. I've got to go out for a while, Stan said. The kid looked up from the bed. I'll be back, though. You rest. If you need anything, help yourself to whatever you can find. Food's in the kitchen. Stan went to the storeroom he'd put in a few years back. There were things in there he never wanted to see again, but also things he'd never want to be without. The memories he hid in the storeroom were the worst part of it. The kid heard Stan rattling around the house for a time, then drifted off to sleep. His sleep was fitful, as every time he'd shift his weight, he'd land on some newly sensitive part of his body. His face taken the worst of it, so he tried to rest without moving it. The kid was woken later by the door squeaking open. The room was dim, and he could tell the sun was setting. He must have been asleep for hours. His face was tender and barely followed his orders. The door to the bedroom stood open without making a sound. Oh, you're awake, Stan said. He turned on the light and came into the room. We have some things to talk about when you feel up to it.
No, I'm ready now,
the kid said. You sure? Maybe you should rest a bit more.
I'd like to hear what it is,
the kid said. Okay, well, you don't have to worry about your dad beating on you anymore. Unfortunately, you won't be able to go back home either.
What did you do?
I reminded your dad that I was an invader. Then I explained to him that I didn't like him hitting you. He took exception to that. Then I reminded your dad that my people had won the invasion, and how we did so. The kid looked closer at Stan. The human had put on some kind of hard-shell clothing that didn't move with the breeze. The man had large splotches of greenish-orange across the front of him. Strapped to the man's hip was something heavy that pulled at his pants.
How did you remind him?
The kid said. Brutally, Stan said. Very brutally. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.